Welcome to our deep dive into the fascinating world of national success and failure, inspired by the book Why Nations Fail. Why is it that some nations thrive and prosper, while others seem trapped in a cycle of poverty and instability? It's a question that has puzzled historians, economists, and political scientists for centuries. In this video, we'll explore the complex interplay of factors that contribute to a nation's success or failure. From the institutions that govern a society to the historical legacies that shape its present, we'll uncover the key ingredients that make some nations flourish while others falter. So, buckle up, because we're about to embark on an epic journey through history, economics, and political science. Get ready to have your assumptions challenged, your perspectives broadened, and your understanding of the world forever changed. What makes a nation successful? Is it abundant natural resources, a favorable geographic location, or perhaps a stroke of luck? While these factors can play a role, economists Darren Aximoglu and James Robinson argue that the most crucial ingredient for national success lies in the strength of its institutions. But not just any institutions, mind you. We're talking about inclusive institutions. So what exactly are inclusive institutions? In essence, they are the rules of the game that promote a level playing field and create opportunities for everyone to participate in the economy and society. Think of things like property rights that are secure, a justice system that's fair and impartial, and a government that's accountable to its citizens. When these institutions are strong and function effectively, they create an environment where innovation can flourish, businesses can thrive, and individuals can reach their full potential. Imagine a country where anyone with a good idea and the willingness to work hard can start a business, secure a loan, and compete in the marketplace. That's the power of inclusive institutions. They empower individuals, foster competition, and drive economic growth. But inclusive institutions aren't just about economics. They're also about ensuring that political power is distributed broadly, that citizens have a voice in their government, and that their rights are protected. Think about it. When people feel like they have a stake in the system, when they believe that the rules are fair and that their voices are heard, they are more likely to buy into the system, to contribute to society, and to work towards a better future for themselves and their children. On the flip side of inclusive institutions, we have extractive institutions, and as you might guess from the name, they're not exactly a recipe for national success. In fact, they're more like a recipe for disaster, extracting wealth from the many to benefit the few. Extractive institutions are designed to concentrate power and wealth in the hands of a small elite, often at the expense of the rest of society. Think of dictatorships where a single ruler or a small group of cronies control the levers of power, or societies with rigid social hierarchies, where opportunities are limited based on your birth or social status. These institutions stifle innovation, discourage investment, and create an environment of fear and uncertainty. Why bother working hard, innovating, or investing in your future when you know that the fruits of your labor will be confiscated by corrupt officials or siphoned off by an elite few? Extractive institutions create a vicious cycle of poverty and instability. As wealth is concentrated at the top, the vast majority of the population is left behind, struggling to make ends meet. This leads to resentment, unrest, and often conflict. And guess what? Conflict is terrible for business, terrible for investment, and terrible for economic growth. It's important to remember that the line between inclusive and extractive institutions isn't always black and white. No nation is perfectly inclusive or completely extractive. And the balance between these two forces can shift over time. But by understanding these concepts, we can begin to grasp why some nations thrive while others struggle. Perhaps the most striking example of how institutions can make or break a nation is the contrasting fortunes of North and South Korea. Once a unified nation, the Korean peninsula was divided after World War II, with the Soviet Union installing a communist regime in the north and the United States backing a capitalist government in the south. From the outset, North and South Korea embarked on radically different paths. North Korea, under the iron-fisted rule of Kim Il-sung and his successors, established a system of extractive institutions designed to maintain the regime's grip on power. Private property was abolished, industries were nationalized, and dissent was ruthlessly suppressed. South Korea, on the other hand, while far from perfect, gradually adopted more inclusive institutions. It embraced free markets, invested in education, and established a democratic system of government, albeit one that was initially flawed and often authoritarian. The results of these divergent paths have been nothing short of astounding. South Korea, once an impoverished backwater, transformed itself into an economic powerhouse, a global leader in technology and innovation. Meanwhile, North Korea, burdened by its extractive institutions and isolated from the global economy, remains one of the poorest and most repressive countries on Earth. The stark contrast between North and South Korea is a powerful testament to the transformative power of institutions. It's a reminder that while geography, history, and culture all play a role in shaping a nation's destiny, it's the institutions we build and the choices we make that ultimately determine our fate. The legacy of colonialism casts a long shadow over the world today, profoundly shaping the political and economic landscapes of countless nations. While the era of direct colonial rule may be over, its impact continues to reverberate, influencing the trajectory of nations long after their supposed liberation. In many cases, colonialism sowed the seeds of future instability and inequality by imposing extractive institutions designed to benefit the colonizers rather than the colonized. These institutions, often built on systems of forced labor, resource extraction, and racial discrimination, created deep-seated inequalities and hindered the development of inclusive institutions. Think of the Belgian Congo, where King Leopold II's brutal regime extracted vast quantities of rubber and ivory, leaving a legacy of violence and poverty. Or consider the British East India Company's rule in India, which transformed a once thriving textile industry into a source of raw materials for British factories, contributing to widespread poverty and deindustrialization. However, the impact of colonialism is not monolithic. Some former colonies, like the United States, Canada, and Australia, managed to break free from the shackles of their colonial past, adopting inclusive institutions and achieving remarkable levels of prosperity. Why did some former colonies succeed while others struggled? Acemoglu and Robinson argue that the key difference lies in the institutional foundations laid during the colonial period. In places where colonial powers encountered dense populations and sophisticated civilizations, they often imposed extractive institutions designed to exploit existing resources and labor. However, in colonies with sparse populations or inhospitable climates, European settlers often had to create institutions that incentivized their own hard work and investment. These institutions, while not always perfect, laid the groundwork for more inclusive systems in the long run. Now, while inclusive institutions are crucial for national success, they don't exist in a vacuum. They require a certain level of political centralization and state capacity to function effectively. It's a delicate balancing act. Think of it like this: you need a strong, capable state to enforce property rights, uphold contracts, and provide essential public services like education and infrastructure. Without these things, inclusive institutions can't thrive. Imagine trying to start a business in a country where there's no rule of law, where your property can be seized at any moment, or where there are no roads to transport your goods. But here's the catch. Too much centralization, too much power concentrated in the hands of the state can be just as detrimental as too little. When a government becomes too powerful, it can stifle innovation, crush dissent, and morph into the very monster it was meant to protect against. Remember those extractive institutions we talked about? Yeah, they love a powerful state. It's their favorite tool for maintaining control and extracting wealth from the masses. So how do we strike the right balance? How do we create a state that's strong enough to protect individual rights and enforce the rule of law, but not so strong that it becomes a threat to those very freedoms? That, my friends, is the million-dollar question, the eternal dilemma of governance. And it's a question with no easy answers, but one thing's for sure. The most successful nations throughout history have found ways to strike this delicate balance, creating governments that are both powerful and accountable, capable of fostering prosperity while safeguarding individual liberties. So there you have it. A whirlwind tour of the complex and often messy world of national success and failure. We've explored the power of inclusive institutions, the perils of extractive ones, and the long shadow cast by colonialism. We've delved into the contrasting fortunes of North and South Korea and grappled with the delicate balance between political centralization and individual liberty. But the most important takeaway from all of this is that national success is not preordained. It's not written in the stars or predetermined by geography or history. It's the result of human choices, of the institutions we build, and the values we embrace. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content.